Hey folks, and welcome to this episode of Tanning with Tyler. Now, I did a bit of walking around in this spot. This looks like it's going to be home for the night. It is cold, guys. It is minus 15. It's supposed to drop down to about minus 20, minus 25 tonight. High winds, possible snow. So it's going to be an interesting night. Now, that's doubly so because I'm doing something different this trip. I am using only tarps and I don't even have a sleeping bag. So let me show you this. I've always wanted a wax canvas backpack and I saw that on Temu. Like, oh man, that looks like a great deal. It's only $100. So I bought it, and as you can see, it is tiny. That's my fault. I should have made sure first that it was, the correct size for a bushcraft backpack, but it is actually a laptop bag. So I could only fit 2 tarps in and a few odds and ends. So it was interesting picking and choosing what I wanted to bring tonight, especially since it is so cold. Now, we're gonna have to rely on a fire all night long to keep warm. Minus 25 with no sleeping bag is going to be interesting. Anyway, without further ado, I'm gonna slap up a tarp. This is a nice low spot, lots of shelter. I'm gonna have the fire up against that hillside. It'll help reflect heat back to me. And we should hopefully stay out of the worst of the wind tonight. Anyway, let's get to it. Whew, that's instantly cold on the skin. Now I'm super glad I decided to bring these. These are going to be a huge help. I was hoping to find a rock face that I could kind of drape the tarp over and use as a reflective barrier. But I don't want to go super far in the bush today, just in case for some reason if I'm freezing I have to pull out. I don't want to be super far from my car. Oh guys, it is so cold out that the leg of my tripod broke right off. That's never happened to me before. So filming is gonna get a little bit interesting. We're gonna have to find some way to kind of make the tripod stand up as I shoot the rest of this video. So try and bear with me. Sorry guys, it's gonna be a bit awkward. I'm gonna finish getting this thing set up and get a fire going because I'm starting to get wet. I am cold and I could use a nice hot tea. So what we have for gear this episode is minimal. We've got the tarp, the canvas tarp. I did bring this chair along to sit so I'm not sitting in the cold snow. We've got a charger for the camera, cable. I've brought a sleeping pad that's got an R value of around 5 so I can lay it on the snow by this fire tonight and hopefully not freeze too badly. I brought the saw, one lantern, and a headlamp. And of course these 2 poles that you see me using with my tarp. It's already starting to warm up under here, which is nice. I was getting pretty cold there. It is currently minus 15 degrees, heading for minus 25 overnight with possible 80 km/h winds and 25 to 30 centimeters of snow. So it could be an interesting night. I don't think it's gonna happen, no. The way the clouds look, I think it's not gonna come until probably mid tomorrow morning. So I think we're gonna be just fine here. It is gonna be a cold night. I am going to be uncomfortable. If I'm in any danger whatsoever, I am not super far from my car. I can just pull the plug if I have to. You gotta know when to quit in situations like these. But we are gonna have a coffee, or a tea I should say. I didn't bring any coffee this trip. I figured a nice warming tea would be just what the doctor ordered. Oh yeah, that is nice. Oh, and so is that. About 3/4 of a cup of tea. I probably should have added a little more snow, but I was too impatient for a hot drink. Now I've got some extra socks in the bag. I've also got 2 extra pairs of gloves and some battery hand warmers that Nicole got me for Christmas, which are gonna be nice. Now I haven't decided if I'm gonna use them throughout the day because my hands are very cold, or if I might save them and tuck them into my boots when I'm sleeping tonight, because that's gonna be the biggest challenge, is keeping my feet warm. Not so much my upper body, because like I said, I'm wearing layer upon layer, and my legs have got multiple layers. It's your feet that always get the coldest, feet and hands. So we're gonna see how it goes. Oh, so good. Now, for sure, I am not going to get a lot of sleep tonight, because if this fire goes out, I'm going to be cold. So I have a feeling it's going to be, load this up with the biggest wood I got, sleep 10-15 minutes, wake up, feed the fire. It's just going to be what it is. But that's the fun of it. Can't always be out in a hot tent living the life up with a stove being warm, 20 degrees. Sometimes you gotta suffer to really appreciate the hot tent. But suffering can be fun too. Now, for those of you who are new to my channel, or you're not familiar with this is the saw I've been using for a few years now, the Agua Canyon, and it is a fantastic saw. Cuts through everything like butter. This is still the original blade. Now it is starting to get a little loose. I think I'm gonna have to put a new blade on it for next season. But what a great saw this has been. I definitely prefer it over the Silkies. It is definitely much more bulky, but it's not crazy bad. So in the end, that's what you have. And that tends to fit quite nicely if you slide it down the side of your pack beside all your gear. And it's not heavy. It's not heavy. Yeah, the Agua Canyon Boreal 21. Great saw. Now, I may have lied to you guys. I was telling you everything I brought. I did bring one more thing of extreme importance that I always bring with me, and that is a beer. This is the only one I brought though, and it is probably gonna be a beer slushy, so I figure we better drink it quick. I had it by the fire trying to thaw it out a bit, but let's see. Oh yeah. To perform some emergency surgery on that. There we go. A little bit of wood in there. Cheers, everybody. Whew. That is cold. Oh my. Well guys, as you can see, I changed the setup of my tarp even before bedtime. I figured I might as well get ready, have it all ready so I don't have to worry about it when it's time for bed. Now I've put this up on the side here to catch more heat because it's getting colder, and it is working really well. I am very tucked in here. The heat is radiating. The tarp is perfectly fine. You know, it's a little warm to the touch, but nothing dangerous. So this is gonna work just fine tonight. I'll still be cold without a sleeping bag, but it'll probably be bearable. Now, as you can see, the way I have this hung is this acts as a chimney. So all the smoke that's coming up is getting scooped and then going out through the back or out through the back here. So even sitting here, I'm not getting any smoke whatsoever, which is important. You don't want to smoke yourself out in a tarp. Yeah, this is gonna work just fine. I'm really glad I brought these poles, or else I'd be trying to find the correct length, you know, poles out of wood and cutting them down. It's just a pain in the butt. This works perfectly well. It is time for tea again, and I got some decent sized wood now, so this is perfect. This wood is gonna be great tonight. And we are gonna, if not be cozy, at least be alive. Oh, does that ever feel good on the hands? Oh, temperature is definitely dropping. Definitely dropping. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I've only got you about 4 feet away, but it is super windy. Luckily the shelter is working great, and I am staying pretty warm. Fairly warm. Well guys, the sun is going to be going down soon, so I figured it'd be about time to get that pad down. That's going to keep me a lot warmer too because it's insulated, so sitting on it by the fire is probably going to be more comfortable than the chair. Anyway, let's get all set up and get ready to settle in. Now I will say, this is usually a bad idea, especially for the situation I'm in. Inflating this with my breath is never a good idea. Now this particular pad was just a cheap Amazon pad. It didn't come with a bag to inflate with. Now Nicole did buy me a flex tail pump, which works amazing, but I have no idea where it is. We used it when we went out for our trip a couple weeks ago, and it works fantastic. And I was hoping to bring it along, but here we are. Even me sitting here, you can see the moisture coming out of my mouth when I talk. Now you're putting that moisture into your sleeping pad, which can freeze and just make you colder. But it should be okay. This has got an R5 value, so I'll still be a bit cool, but I'll still be safe. Oh. Now this is going to be surprisingly comfortable. Minus the cold, of course. Oh, yep, that is comfortable. I got hear some air coming out of somewhere. Oh. Now that is a problem. So this definitely changes things, folks. Now, I do not have a patch kit with me. Now, normally my normal kit that I carry around always has the patch kit for these. That was so stupid of me not to bring it. I didn't even think of it. I've been using this pad all season and haven't had a problem, and it must have just slipped my mind. I normally have a bag of my winter camping gear. That's my go bag. It's already pre-packed. It has all the essentials, you know, fire starter, matches, the patch kits, pots, everything. So when I decide to go out last minute, I just get my bag and off I go to the races. And that's where my patch kits are. That is seriously unfortunate. Now, I don't mind sleeping without a sleeping bag as long as I had this pad. Now, clearly, either I just did it as I set it up, or this happened my last trip as I was packing up and I didn't notice. Now, where the hole was on the canvas tarp, so I'm leaning more towards, I poked this hole last trip, and it has definitely gotten worse. This thing's almost flat as it is now. Now, the most dangerous thing about winter camping is convection from the ground. You can be in a sleeping bag, you can be in a snowsuit and be warm, but as soon as you lay down on this ground, that ground will sap the heat out of you like that. That's how you get into trouble. Now, if this was a survival situation, if I was too far away to pull out, what I would do is get pine boughs, tons and tons and tons of pine boughs, cut them all off, and I'd make a stack probably a good 2 to 3 feet tall of cut off pine boughs. the whole length of my body. And when you lay on that, that would compress down to a good, 3 inches overnight. That would be enough to keep me warm and safe. But this is not a survival situation, and one thing I don't like doing is damaging live trees if I don't have to. I do not have to. I'm close enough to my car that I can pack up and head home, and it is what it is. This is a stupid mistake, 100% my fault, and very disappointing. But as I said, I'm not willing to damage trees, to damage the environment around me, just so I can shoot a longer video. Now, I will patch this when I get home. That way I don't forget and bring it out on my next trip and end up in this situation again. But in the meantime, I'm going to sit around and enjoy this fire because it is such a nice, sunny yet cold day. I don't quite want to head home. I was really looking forward to this. So I'm going to sit and enjoy this fire for a while, and I'll bring you back in a bit. That is too bad, guys. You always need to check your gear. Always. I know it. You guys know it. This is what happens when you are not prepared. You didn't prepare well enough. Always a lesson to be learned no matter how long you camp. You get complacent with stuff like this, and this is what happens to you. Well, guys, I'm not going to dilly-dally any longer. I'd love to stay out, but it was not meant to be. I'm going to let this fire burn down and break down camp and get out of here while I still can. I mean, I could hike in the dark, but I'd rather not. Now, this is a lesson for all of us. Always check your gear on a regular basis. You really got to take care of your gear. I've been doing this since I was a kid, since I was young. I have done all sorts of camping, and sometimes I still mess up. It happens to the best of us. So anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hit the like and subscribe button if you want. It really helps the channel, and keep an eye out for my next video. It'll be a couple weeks from now, and we will get out on some other harebrained adventure.